everyone, this is Jackie Cooper with CryptoMom2 Talk Show and J Cooper Travels, and I would like to welcome you to this episode and remind you definitely to like and subscribe because there are some wonderful conversations that are in the queue, and I would like to make sure that you are always in the know as to what's happening on this blockchain community because it's constantly evolving. I do want to mention that these shows are educational. They're not financial advice, not legal advice, and not investment advice, even though we're not going to be talking about that today. But sometimes I do forget to put the disclaimer. So I just wanted to remind everyone. And for those that are new to this talk show and what I do, I'll give you a quick update and then I'm going to head over to my guest for today. And I'm really excited. He has a very diverse background and we're going to be chatting about gaming and Web3 and a host of other things that I think you'll find very interesting. So I am definitely, for those that know, I'm an attorney, but I've been doing very non-traditional law for the past few years. I definitely am in the consulting area in the blockchain space. And I'm also in education. I'm in special education. So I'm always looking at ways that we can provide accessibility with things that we're doing. One of the passion projects that I have, which is behind me, is called the Blockchain Legal Institute. And I created that with a team. So that way it's a centralized hub for decentralized resources, because in our ever-evolving space, there's a lot of vocabulary and there's a lot of things to know. And when you first step in, as I did 6 years ago, it's overwhelming the where to turn, who to trust, and where to go next. It's very much like a maze, and you can definitely go down that rabbit hole that we all talk about. And, you know, so from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Metaverse to NFTs to Web3, there's a whole slew of wonderful, wonderful conversations. And we're going to be talking a little bit about everything today. So with that, I also want to introduce and welcome Ryan. He was introduced to me through LinkedIn. And he is definitely an expert on how to navigate LinkedIn, but he also has a very diverse career background. And, you know, again, from everyone who I've met, we all seem to be in some ways career switchers, applying the skills that we learn in one occupation to another. And I think that that's super exciting because I think life is never a straight line. And I think we need to be open to the way that the path, you know, navigates us. And it might not always be comfortable, but it's a very fun ride. So how are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I believe the term is adapt or die.
Yeah, I
Well,
think so.
yes, adaptation is key. I mean, if you're not moving and shaking and going with the flow and figuring it out, then there's something going on.
Well, you know what, it's very kind of apropos that you say that, because you take a look at how businesses and tech have evolved over time. And, you know, you look at Blockbuster and then you have Netflix, you look at, you know, taxis and then you have Uber. So, you know, as we have navigated online, we've also had to evolve our businesses and think outside of the box.
Yeah,
But what is now outside of the box is inside the box.
literally.
Yeah, exactly. You know, whether it's a metaverse box or something else. So I know that you have a really interesting background. Why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about what you're doing
Sure.
now and where you came from?
Yeah, sure. So thanks again, Ryan Harbinson here. Currently a talent manager with Robert Half. So we are a recruiting and staffing agency, one of the largest in the world. We're a Fortune 500 company, and what we do is we help find people jobs, right? So it's there's something magical about talking with clients and talking with candidates, and when you get to make that phone call to someone and say, "Hey, just so you know, they loved you and they're bringing you on and you got the gig." So it's pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Um,
It's a
but
happy ending.
yeah, but my world has not always been in the recruiting and staffing space. So, I grew up a gamer for many years. I played games since I was young, and I actually was a graphic designer by trade, and got my a degree in video game design out here in New Jersey. Was you know, a beginner of the program here in New Jersey, where they actually had a design degree. Worked with the board at the college to kind of help create that degree, and went to school for a little bit and kind of was like, it's not really my MO. And I'm going to kind of just, can I work? And they're like, yeah, you can work. I'm like, I'm just going to work like multiple jobs at the same time, always. 80 hours a week kind of a thing. And so, back in like 2005, started a game design company with two partners. Long story short, we've got we're a certified developer for Nintendo and for Sony. Got two games published on Nintendo DS, a bunch of stuff on the app stores. And when we were making games, the iPhone marketplace and the iPad marketplace were two separate stores. And we were one of the first ones to launch on the iPad store separately, which is really
Wow.
exciting. Yeah. And then as I was working with those guys and starting the business, I was working for a couple of different video game publishers. So I got about 100 to 120 games under my belt in uh, the Game Boy Advance to Wii U time frame. Worked with a lot of large organizations like National Geographic, M&M's, Candies, Yamaha, Jeep, all that kind of stuff. And we were putting out a lot of games during the DS and Wii years, and I was kind of overseeing production. So from when we signed the contracts until when Nintendo was printing gold, I was involved through the entire process, working with the developers through pre-alpha, alpha, beta, gold builds, working with the licensors to make sure that everything was on par, doing sales with direct sales to distributors and with Best Buy and Target, Walmart. So I've been in Fayetteville more than a handful of times, which other than Walmart, I don't really know what else is out in Fayetteville, but it is a nice area. I do suggest it. So, and really have been in the game space for a long time and the tech space, and then kind of transitioned my career over to the branding and marketing side and worked for a couple agencies for a little while, doing campaigns for strategy and execution, creative, all that great stuff.
Lot of information, a lot of information. So you've seen a lot of evolution. I actually probably need to tap into your wisdom for how to make the Bitcoin Cinderella into a game. But before we even go there,
Yeah, back in the day when it was like difficult to add a new email to a server, when if you remember those days, it was like pulling teeth. I tell you what, back when Outlook was like tan. So
I don't really, Outlook is still not my friend right now, but it's something that we use and we endure with. So with the Blockchain Legal Institute, as I mentioned when we first chatted, is a passion project of mine because I know that we need to kind of centralize information. I'm going to share it right now so we can kind of navigate it and then
great.
talk a little bit about the gaming side. So for those that are new to blockchain, and if you want to have access to a platform that will help you learn and have resources, there's news, there's a learn side.
There's a plethora of information. Trust me. If you want to get lost in the way that this whole world works, this is the website to come in and do your research and links on top of links on top of links. So you've done a great job of kind of helping to be a centralized location for understanding how the community works and everything that's part of that Web3 wildness that we're living in right now. So,
and I appreciate that testimonial. I mean, from the aspect of individuals that are new to the blockchain, trying to learn where to navigate, where to get, jobs, as well as just learning on their own. I mean, one of the areas that we talked about was gaming. So let's kind of go there. How do you think that gaming and the blockchain is evolving? And then the other area that we, obviously need to talk about are NFTs and tokens and, digital assets, because I know that one of the complaints, and I did an interview maybe about a year and a half ago. One of the complaints was that if you game on certain places and you're not able to take your rewards, I guess I'm not officially a gamer, so I might not be using the right terminology, but you can't always easily navigate from one platform to another. So as a result, if you're playing and you can't move over your rewards, then that's a challenge. So what do you see as
So
the,
let's start with
yeah,
that. So, the that whole situation, and it has actually gotten a lot better over the last couple console generations, right? So what's nice is because of the cloud integration into the gaming, it's able to now store your information on the cloud. So your
oh,
user login and ID is now associated with everything that you purchase within the games that you are playing. So I would say it started around the beginning of PS4 and Xbox One, and it's just gotten better on the next gen that we're currently in right now. It was a little bit more difficult during the PS3 and 360 days, and was really non-existent during PS2 online and the beginning of Xbox Live, right? So the asset side has gotten a lot better. I mean, I can log into somebody else's console; they can play my games. I can share my games now with people based on different elements on PlayStation. So that is really kind of the community has listened on the Sony Microsoft side too. Same with Nintendo as well. And then on the PC side, it's always been a lot easier just because we're on, working off of Steam and all that as well too. I think part of what we're seeing on the gaming side, and it's funny because the metaverse is such a tag that everybody sees, and we've created these worlds where we can go in and we can have a meeting and people can talk. And from the gaming perspective, in the gaming community, we have been doing this for 25, 30 years already. Like, we've played EverQuest back in the early late 90s. We've played Ultima Online, playing with people, and Second Life and The Sims and all this. So like, when the term metaverse kind of came out, I kind of was like, that's kind of what the gaming world has been doing for a long time. I mean, I know people that have played, all the way back to Halo 1 and Halo 2
wow, I
X-
remember
on
those
regular
games.
on regular Xbox. So, I know a couple guys that had played Halo, randomly got put into rooms through the servers, and then wound up like friending them because they played games all night, and then like became like friends with each other and would like play. And like, one guy's in Philly, where I'm at, outside of Philly. Another guy's like in Milwaukee. There's another guy in the middle of like San Antonio, and those guys became like friends in real life. And the one guy was my buddy's best man at his wedding, and they had like never really met in real life. So like, that world has been there for a long time.
It
So
had,
it's funny to see that. And like, the communities are there. Like, I mean, you look at like the way that it's turned into now almost this, real world and like internal hybrid, because the esports thing has now exploded over the years too. But esports is another side of the world that we've kind of looked at as, it's always kind of been there, but it never really had a name. I mean, I remember running like Madden 2005 tournaments for many years back in like '04, '05, '06 with companies that was with before. It wasn't called esports. It was a Madden tournament, or we had like a Halo 2 tournaments, or we had like, MLB The Show, like home run derbies with like our Sony reps. So like, we were doing this stuff 20 something years ago before esports was really a thing. But it's great to see like these communities coming out. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, but like some of the stuff that's like going on in like Japan and China for, these League of Legends tournaments. I mean, it's 100,000 people in a stadium.
no, it's amazing. It's amazing.
It's unreal. I mean, esports is such a low uh, it's a low industry now because people don't realize it, but everybody that's like under 45 years old plays games. That's the world that we live in, right? I mean, people are like perplexed on how well the Mario movie did, but like, it's multiple generations going to see Mario. Like, my dad played Mario with me when I was a kid, and my brother has kids, and his kid grew up in Mario. So like, they all went and saw Mario together, and it's like awesome that Pop Pop knows what Mario is.
Exactly. It's
You know,
cross-generational. Yeah.
so it's great to see kind of like the mainstream thing, and I think the blockchain element's just going to help evolve these things, right? And I think what we're going to see is we're going to see more security, which is really the basis of it all. So that people can't hack stuff as much as they are. I mean, there's games that have been like shut down because people are just hacking in the games and just cheating all the time, right? So when games can start to be developed more on the blockchain and the servers can be more secure and people don't want to cheat in Call of Duty and ruin the game for everybody else, I think it's going to change the field a lot in general too.
So one of the things that we talked about was the idea of digital assets and NFTs and the blend between the
Yeah,
digital and the real life. So, again, if I have a book, the Bitcoin Cinderella, and it has been on OpenSea as a book, as an NFT, but
cool.
how do you foresee that whole area going? And do you think it's going to cross over to the gaming side? And do you think that
Yeah.
the assets that are in the games will end up being physical products, sort of like in a strange way, what's happening with the Barbie movie?
Yeah, so I mean that's kind of what we talked about too, and like that's really what I've been passionate about is the hybrid element of the NFT world itself, right? NFTs are a great addition to that Web3 universe, and it's so I see it as being so similar to QR codes 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And we all remember when QR codes came out, and they were hot for like 18 months, and they just kind of disappeared. And the reason they disappeared is because we are in a world where instant gratification is necessary, right? If there's multiple steps involved in something, then eventually it's going to not be part of it, right? And the fact that if I needed to scan a QR code, I had to open up a third party app, wait for that to load, scan the QR code, click the link in the app, then the app opens up my Safari, and then it opens up, and now I'm at the website. It's too many steps. So people gave up. But when the operating systems decided to integrate QR code recognition into the cameras through the new updates in the operating system, all of a sudden, bang, QR codes are back and bigger and louder than ever. Now, on the same side, you got to be careful.
Interesting tech innovation. Very interesting, because we
Yeah.
don't always think about the behind the scenes way that you have a problem and then you kind of have to do the tech solution for it, and then it becomes consumer friendly.
Well, we were waiting on the operating systems now, and that was really what it was, right? And it's funny now because you got to be careful because now there's a huge problem with the QR codes because think about how most people are making QR codes. QR code randomsite.com. They put up their website, spits out a QR code, boom. None of that. A lot of those QR codes are on servers that are unsecure. So people are just throwing malware right over top of those QR codes. Google QR code FBI. There is a huge thing going on them locking down all this QR stuff. So be careful when you're scanning QR codes because some of that stuff can be infested, especially if you got an Android platform.
So if you let's talk about that for a second. If you're creating a QR code, is there a way to put a protective cover over the QR code so you don't actually, unbeknownst to you, have malware kind of embedded? Is there a
Yeah,
way to do
it
that?
it all depends on the sites that you're utilizing to create those QR codes. So there's so many out there. I have yet to find stuff that's safe. But they are out there. And that's really where you need to go is find those ones that are like encrypting those and actually hosting those QR codes instead of it just kind of being out in the internet, just kind of hanging out riding the waves, you know.
Interesting. That's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother area to research, but I think that that's really important. So,
So
yeah, keep going. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so I think what's nice is that the NFT space feels very similar to that QR code space 10 years ago, right? We know we've got something good. There was a big flash in the pan with the monkeys and all the cards and the sports card stuff and the animated GIFs and the JPEGs and all that. But now that has kind of dissipated. Now there's still NFT stuff going on out there, but look where it was 18 months ago and how on fire it was. Now how it's not really mainstream anymore. So what I think is going to happen is going to be this hybrid model, right? Where we're going to be able to utilize a dual reality for these NFTs, right? So I'm going to be able to get physical and digital assets together. And I think the easy example is like Nike, right? So you need someone like a big brand. And really what it turns into is it turns into a branding and marketing campaign. That's really where it's at, right? So what I'm going to offer is let's use the metaverse, right? So I'm in the metaverse. I go to a Nike store in the metaverse and I grab these Jordans off the shelf, right? Boom. I buy these Jordans right through my wallet. I pay with my Ethereum. Bang. Jordans are on my feet on my avatar inside. I automatically get a picture of those Jordans to hang up on my house in my metaverse house of all my shoe collection, and a pair goes into my closet in the metaverse. And then within 3 weeks or so, those ones that has my avatar on it and or my gamer tag on there are custom made for me, because the purchase that I made with my Ethereum was not just for the digital asset, it was for the also the one of a kind custom shoes that get shipped to my house.
That is phenomenal.
But
Yeah.
think of it another way, right? It doesn't always have to be that. And it really brings us into where I feel like everything's going. I mean, the VR stuff is great, but from a development perspective, when you're in the VR space, you have to create all of those assets.
Yeah.
You have to make these worlds. So why wouldn't we just utilize the worlds that we have in front of us, the walls that are physical, and digitize that? And that's where I think MR and AR is really going to be the future of where it's going to go. I mean, Google Glass was a little before its time, but they had the right thing, right? Google Glass was great for a little bit, but now the next version of the Google Glass is really going to come out, right? Where I have a pair of glasses on, either prescription or not, right? I put these glasses on, and maybe I invite you into my room, cling, cling, clang. Here's my passcode. Okay, you scan some QR code or whatever, and now you're in my room with me. In my room, you're on my server, which my glasses are hosting. Right now,
Yeah.
in my server, I have a parrot on my shoulder that only you can see because you're in my server with me. And you go, dude, that's a pretty sweet parrot. Where'd you get that parrot? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I was on TommyBahama.com and I spent like $250 on shirts. And after $250, I got free shipping and I got this limited edition parrot. And you're like, well, I really like that parrot. Do you want to sell me that parrot? And I go, all right. And I go, click, click, clack. And then we open up an internet window in front of us that we can both see. I jump up on OpenSea. We see what the rate of that parrot's going for on the market. All right, looks like it's going for $185. You're my friend. How about $80 Ethereum? You go, cool. I go, click, click, click. Here's my wallet. You go, click, click, click. Thank you. Here you go. And then the parrot leaves my shoulder and jumps onto yours.
Unbelievable. Are you developing that right now?
But that's where it's going to go. Because, like, imagine if you're in a business meeting
Yeah.
and we're sitting there, and I'm like, all right, jump on in, click, 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 and you jump in my glasses, and I'm like, yeah, you want to shoot some hoops? And you're like, great. And it's just like, whoop. And here's the thing. So we got a basketball court right here next to me. The walls and the ceiling doesn't matter. I could shoot the ball 40 feet in the air and it comes down through the ceiling and hits, because it's all about how much momentum and push I'm putting on the ball, because it can measure how fast I'm
As,
shooting. And
as
then
a
we're
teacher, I love the physics aspect of this, but keep going.
exactly. And we're just shooting the balls in there. Or maybe I can do a thing where I scan my house like a Roomba, okay? And I can see my house, and my house is scanned. You come over to my house and click, 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 everybody's in. And now we've got a zombie game in my house. Where you start in the basement, we have to make our way up to the third floor, and there's a flag that we have to get, and then we have to kill everything, and we can take damage. And if you get out, it's like, boom, 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 you're dead, right? Or we can play war stuff. I mean, it's going to be endless. It's going to be Pokemon Go to the next level, where you're playing in the streets with people and you're playing games with people in the real world.
Yeah, my mind is just blown with all these possibilities, and I can't wait to see where all this goes. Do you think how soon do you think this is happening?
I think we're a little bit away from it, honestly. I think the tech is going to come. I mean, everybody's so focused on the VR. The only thing that we're really seeing that's making advances in this is really in the private sector with Microsoft Mesh, which was AKA the HoloLens before. So HoloLens is now rebranded as Mesh. If you have not seen the Mesh videos, I highly suggest that you go online, check out Microsoft Mesh. It's really HoloLens 3. They're utilizing it within the private sector with like Boeing, and being able to show like the inside of like a jet. And you can't take this thing apart and see how everything moves, but you can pull it apart and say, all right, well, here's the thing, and then this line is here, and these things spark, and this comes in there. This is what a clog looks like. Hey, let's work on this person's body. Oh no, they got shrapnel in their liver. How are we going to remove this? Okay, we come in here with these scepters and we pull this out. That's really where we're seeing a lot of it is. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly where the tech starts, is in the private sector. And
Yeah.
once things start coming in, a lot of those developers will most likely leave the private sector and start their own startups. And that, you know how it works from there. It just takes time for it to catch on. I think that with the evolution of the PlayStation um, VR2 that's coming out, which is getting better and better. Um, Everyone's paying attention to what Microsoft is doing. Everyone's paying attention to what Sony's doing. Everybody's paying attention to what Meta's doing. Everyone's paying attention to all the other VR that's out there, and we're going to see it going. I think we're starting to get away from smaller, bigger, faster, stronger. That's kind of been the MO for the last 20 years, and we're starting to see strides in tech. Once we kind of get past the uh, everything as a true false statement and everything as every possibility lined up at the same time, and it's all released and we find the correct answer, that's really where we're at. We're at the classic, the funnel can handle it all, right? We can process as much information as we can, but the tube is only so big.
Yeah.
And once we get to that quantum element where we can really utilize an unlimited size of the tube and being able to push as much information as we want into where it is, that's where I think we're going to be able to kind of push that out there as a friendlier thing. But you know, uh, Apple's getting into the game now. Apple has their VR coming out. It's not really AR; it's really VR. Um, but it's interesting where everyone's going to go. I think Microsoft is really going to be the leader in this. Mesh is excellent. It's crazy. Check it out. It really blow your
So,
minds.
we talked at the beginning of our conversation how, you either evolve or you die. And so, again, you're mentioning companies that had maybe not a different purpose way back when, but again, they are constantly on the edge looking at how to integrate new innovative technologies into products that will feed the fury of what's out there. So
Yeah. I mean, it's all part of the R&D situation. And come back to the gaming side, I mean, look at Nintendo, right? So Nintendo, we look back at the Wii. The Wii revolutionized the way that people
remember
played
the way,
games.
yeah.
It brought generations in. There's still Wii's in retirement homes where they have Wii bowling tournaments every night. Like, that's the thing still. But remember, Nintendo released a second console after the Wii called the Wii U, which did okay. So about 21 million units. The lifespan of the Wii was about 140. Right? The Switch just passed like 150. So the Switch is an evolution of Nintendo understanding what the consumer wants, right?
Yeah.
There's different versions of the Game Boy Advance, the DS, the DS Lite, the 3DS. So they saw that and they combined that Wii U product that they had, which was a full screen, but they made that full screen into a portable system. So
Wow.
Nintendo created the hybrid. Nintendo created a full gaming console that is also, at any time you want it, a portable handheld. It's
You know,
crazy.
your knowledge just blows me away. Total respect, total respect. So, how do people reach you if they have questions about either the hiring side or the
Yeah.
side? Where do they find you?
So your best bet is on LinkedIn. Check me out, Ryan Harbinson, hashtag Where's Harb. I also have a YouTube channel with other interviews that I've done. So YouTube/@ Where's Harb. Let's connect. I'd love to help.
Yeah, no, I think, what you're sharing is great. And I know we're gonna have many conversations because there are topics that we haven't even dived into yet today. So I appreciate your being on. And for those that are listening, as I always say at the end, always be kind to yourself, be kind to others. We're so interconnected. We're all part of one world, and now even more than other times. So have a great day, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.